A huge moo to the herd, and welcome to episode 17 of our Omnifactory playthrough. So in today's episode we are going to start making some progress on automation, and to do that we are going to first need to start playing around with chemicals. Now that does sound a little bit dangerous, but trust me, it's Minecraft, it's all perfectly safe. So if I open up the quest book and go into our early game quest line, you'll see this whole section about various chemicals: sulfuric acid, ethanol, ethylene and polyethylene, chlorine, plastic sheets and polyvinyl chloride. And the reason we need to work on those is two reasons. First of all, getting cheaper circuits. So at the moment it takes a lot of time and a lot of resources to make the circuits. If we unlock this bit, we'll be able to produce more efficiently. And second of all, and more importantly, also crafting patterns. Now, all this manual crafting of stuff is it's a bit tiring. But if we can get the patterns unlocked, we can start setting up AE2 automation, which means we can start doing on-demand crafts, we can have passive crafts, and we can start accelerating our way through the rest of the quest chain. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, I've got some notes because I was trying to figure out what we're going to need, and the first machines I've made is the advanced brewery, this one here, which is taking water, just plain water, and sugarcane from my sugarcane farm. So we repurposed that and turning it into biomass. Now, the one thing I have done is there is a water line here, which has been upgraded to ender fluid conduits, so we can have multiple fluids going through the same conduits. The pressurized fluid conduits won't allow you to do that. Next to that, we have an advanced distillery, and this is converting the biomass into ethanol. So that's the first thing off of our list. The next thing we need to do, if we go into our quest book, is we've done the ethanol. To do ethylene, ethylene is hydrocarbon made from dehydrating ethanol with sulfuric acid in a chemical reactor. It's an extremely important chemical in the production of plastics. So we need a chemical reactor to produce sulfuric acid. And sulfuric acid, if we look at it, where are we? In a chemical reactor is sulfur and water. So let me, unfortunately I prepared this earlier. I made up a load of chemical reactors. We'll pop that down there. We'll open up our floor, and I will use my ender fluid conduits. And I have the water line on light blue. Not extracting anything at the moment, so we're putting in, or we should be putting in, if I've connected it, screwdriver, allow output from input from output side, insert. Why are you not inserting? Maybe it's not light blue. Light blue insert. It must not be connected somewhere, but it all looks connected. This is interesting. Channel light blue. Channel light blue. I saw people are shouting at the screen saying, it's obvious it's such and such. Ding, 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 ding. Okay. That's weird. It seems my endeavour with its unlimited water is now empty. I find that hard to believe. I think we've actually exceeded the amount of water that we can take out of an endeavour. Oh, there it is. It is just taking its time. Okay, well that's something we're going to need to fix later on. Obviously the endeavour needs to be either bigger or we need a separate one. Okay. So, now that that little sideshow's done, the other thing we'll need for the sulfuric acid is sulfur. And I don't know why I came all the way over here because it's in my storage system. Because I've had my Blaze data model producing sulfur for some time, I have plenty of it. So what we'll do is we'll drop sulfur in, and that should start making my sulfuric acid. So we now have ethanol, we now have some sulfuric acid once that's done. Cool. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to get some pumps. There's some cheap and cheerful electric pumps. And we'll grab another chemical reactor. We'll drop you down here. We'll put a pump here, and if you're both exporting as you are, we have ethanol, we have sulfuric acid coming in, and once that's done, we should have ethylene, hopefully. Now what I will do is obviously I need to fix the water situation, which is fine. We can get that done relatively easily. And I will need to automate the inputting of sulfur dust, but that again won't be too much of an issue, especially if we use AE2. And I'm still waiting for our first ethylene. Done. So we have ethylene and diluted sulfuric acid. Yay! Right, so what do we need to do with the ethylene? Well, we need to react the ethylene with chlorine. Now, chlorine is relatively simple. 2 machines I need, if I remember correctly. Sure it's that one and that one. Would make sense if it is. So I have an advanced chemical reactor and an advanced mixer. You might be wondering why. Well, chlorine is that the wrong pipe? That's a fluid conduit. No, that's the right one. Tax our water supply even further. If I take salt, which I've purchased some salt and run it through the macerator, etc., and drop that into here. really do need to fix that water supply issue. What I might temporarily do, it's not ideal, might give me a bit more water whilst this system sorts itself out. So water and salt is salt water. Actually, I think it's an electrolyzer I need rather than a chemical reactor. It's the electrolyzer. We can electrolyze that salt water and turn it into chlorine if it ever fills up. Again, what I'll do is I'll get a pump from over here. Boop-a-doo-ba-doo. There we go. I want to stick you to output into that once you're done. There's my salt water, and that will electrolyze into chlorine. And then, if I take another conduit and say, what color do we want this to be? Let's make it brown. Add a filter in there. Configure the filter to only accept chlorine. Right, so that will extract chlorine once that's made. I have hydrogen and chlorine being made there. So that's the what do we need? So ethylene and chlorine gives me vinyl chloride. So chemical reactor down here. We must do something about those bats. And another fluid conduit. That's not a fluid conduit. It looks too big. And we want to insert on brown. So you are always active. You're inserting nothing at all. Should be inserting chlorine. Well, so far things are going great. Why does this only give the indicator for extract? Always active. You are not extracting. Why? Maybe I need to do this. Nope. Have I got the wrong chlorine in here? Oh, that. Check the filter. Basic fluid filter with chlorine whitelist. That seems fine. You say you're working. You're on channel brown. You're inserting on channel brown. And yet you're not pulling the chlorine in. Oh well, let's just do it manually for the time being until I can figure it out between episodes. So grab my chlorine. Drop that in here, and we'll need some of that lovely ethylene. and that should now start reacting. Give me vinyl chloride and hydrochloric acid. Alright, so we have our vinyl chloride. So I suppose the only thing left would be to drop a final chemical reactor down and take our vinyl chloride, drop you in there, and some oxygen. I'm sure it is vinyl chloride and oxygen, isn't it? Vinyl chloride, oxygen, and an integrated circuit of 0. Just pinch this one at the moment because I've burnt through all my circuits making all the machines. Have our first polyvinyl chloride. Easy for me to say. Just one thing I need is a bucket. So I'll quickly make one of those. Yeah, so it looks like got a bit of work to do. I would have expected the fluid conduits to just, well, work. But clearly there is an issue somewhere. I wonder if this is one of the known features. There's me a bucket. Set you back to 0. And waiting on more chlorine, which I wish would just work. So we'll do it manually. Obviously we'll have to use AE2's fluid interfaces to get this to work, because it doesn't seem like the endoconduits are working. And I need some more oxygen. Now that's the excuse me. That's what the electrolyzer is for. To pop in some water. Excuse me. Right, so why are you not working? You are definitely extracting on brown. You're always active. We have chlorine sitting there. You have a filter for chlorine. And you are working of sorts. Once the water supply here is sorted, which I shall go and fix by taking the last water from this autoclave. Dropping it in here. That gives us plenty of salt water. I don't know what's wrong with my voice today. Which is giving me plenty of chlorine. I have 2 of oxygen. Will that be enough? Should be. Not quite a bucket's worth yet. That's a bucket's worth. So that's my polyvinyl chloride bucket done. I need a polyethylene bucket. Where is my polyethylene? That's ethylene. Right. Right, polyethylene. So it's ethylene and oxygen in a chemical reactor rather than vinyl chloride and oxygen in a chemical reactor. So let's just take that out and we will take out ethylene, whichever one that is, that one. Drop you in here, so it looks like I'm going to need another machine. Take out oxygen. It does not give you a lot. Oh, it gives us 648, so that's not too bad. Let me go grab another bucket. We have polyvinyl chloride, which is good, because that's going to help with the circuits. And the fun things about recording, you do all this prep work and you think, oh, it's all going to be fine, and then it doesn't work. Now, why aren't you working? Because you're not plates, that's why. Right, one more batch of oxygen, I think. Need our circuit back. And that's a bucket's worth of polyethylene. We've done chlorine. Vinyl chloride is an industrial chemical made from chlorinating ethylene in a chemical reactor, which we've done. Plastic polyvinyl chloride, most well known as PVC. While it deviates from reality, in Gregtech you chemically react vinyl chloride and oxygen to polymerize it into PVC. Later you can add titanium tetrachloride to catalyze this reaction as well as for greater yield. PVC sheets are superior to polyethylene sheets for making plastic substrates, producing twice as many plastic boards per craft. So I want a polyvinyl chloride sheet, which will be fluid solidifier, the mold plate. Yeah, it looks like I'm going to need to make a mold plate up to do this one, which shouldn't take too long. Where are we still? And we can just add that into our fluid solidifier, add in our polyvinyl chloride. Is it polyethylene? That's polyvinyl chloride we need for those. And that will be that quest done, and we can look at substrates. So plastic sheets. Form polyethylene sheets using a fluid solidifier and a plate mold for use in crafting electronics components. Which would be the other thing we need. So getting that plate mold would be good, and then we're on our way to unlocking patterns and also cheaper circuits. As long as I can figure out what the heck has gone wrong with our setup. So that's our plate mold. We'll drop you in here. Put that there. And the first one we're going to do is polyethylene. Oh, we get a fair amount from that bucket. I wasn't expecting that. Quite pleased though. Clear that out, and the next one is polyvinyl chloride. Yeah, I think that's not too bad at all. So we have our polyethylene sheets, and we can now make plastic substrate. Just copper foil sulfuric acid, which we've been making. Another chemical reactor with, so we get 1 from polyethylene and 2 from polyvinyl chloride. Well, that's not too bad. And 4 from polytetrafluoroethylene, or PTFE. Or Teflon, is that? I'm not sure. Well, things didn't quite go to plan today. We've clearly got some bottlenecks that I'm going to have to overcome between episodes, water being the first one, and then the supply of fluids, because that seems to be a bit broken. So we'll get working on that between episodes. But we seem to be making some good progress. We're now at the point where we can start looking at getting automation done. And I think that's what we'll focus on in the next episode, is just getting some machine automation done, especially for circuits. If you like this episode, feel free to give it a like. If you would like to see more episodes, then please feel free to subscribe. Until then, I wish you a very pleasant day. Goodbye.